Welcome. Hopefully you can see me and hear okay. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about the smear campaign for victims, what it's like. When your narcissist is the one triangulating and the only thing people know about you is what the narcissist told them. When you don't talk to people because your narcissist isolates you. So what people know about you and how they found that out. That's what we're talking about, the smear campaign for a victim of narcissistic abuse. There was a lot of talking because they use the word smear campaign in politics. So I'm assuming in Canada, in Malton especially, for the past 6 years, you were really confused when you heard the word smear campaign, right? You didn't know what it had to do with, if it was narcissistic abuse or politics. Well, we're going to clear that up today. Probably too late, but I'm the narcissistic abuse recovery life coach. I know what I'm doing, so I can only do from today. What you guys did, like I said, I have no idea. We'll see how it's going. What is a smear campaign? A smear campaign is when the narcissist talks about you. It's what the narcissist says about you, what he or she tells people about you, what they know about you. That's a smear campaign. If a narcissist always has to put on a good show, always has to look good, what do you think he tells people when he's talking to strangers about him, his life, and his friends? What kinds of things do they say? Well, probably a lot of lies, right? If a narcissist has to put on a good show, always has to look good, do you think they tell the truth? Well, let's go into triangulation. We'll go back to narcissistic parents. If you had brothers and sisters, did you talk to them when you were younger? All of them? If you had aunts and uncles, did you talk to all of them? If you had cousins, did you talk to all of them? The ones you didn't talk to, how come you didn't talk to them? Well, let's say it's a narcissistic mother, and she always goes around telling people her kids are perfect. They get perfect grades. They have perfect looks. Everything is perfect about them. My kids are perfect. What do you think is going to happen when those kids go to school? Do you think the other kids are going to like them? Do you think they have a fair chance to show who they are? Well, let's say it's a Well, at the same time, if you have a parent that always says, "My kid's no good. My kid's no good. He doesn't do anything. She doesn't do anything." What do you think other people are going to think of their kid? Who wouldn't believe the parent, right? That's the same smear campaign. If it's your narcissistic parent, right? Your whole life, they've just been teaching you and strangers. Well, it depends how old you are, right? Did both of your parents work when you were young? If you use a smear campaign against your child, they may be too discouraged to graduate high school. Yeah, well, we can get into that one. If you discourage your child, why would they even want to wake up and go to school in the morning? If you tell them negative things, why would they even go try, much less to graduate, right? We're reality. All ages, back to school's coming up. Well, which way? If your parent says you're a perfect kid, you're not a perfect kid, you can't do anything, you'd be too discouraged to graduate high school. Well, we're in 2025, right? There's online learning. You don't have to attend in class, right? You did virtual learning. So there's a lot of ways to graduate high school, right? Now. So if it was the actual school, if it was the teachers, you could always do online at home learning, right? And get your high school diploma. If it's your parents, then you can go to school and get your high school diploma. Is it funny? Where? How? If your high school diploma gets you all the good jobs and all the good careers, that's reality, right? If you're already discouraged and you didn't even get to high school yet, what's going to happen if you want to go to college or university? How are you going to get a career and a good job? Isn't that what they teach you in high school to prepare you for life? Isn't that why you go to high school? I told you earlier I didn't graduate high school. Everything I learned, I taught myself. Now they have the GED. Do you know what the GED is? It's like a big, huge exam. It's equivalent to your high school diploma. Well, when I was 17, 18, you couldn't really get a job off of that, right? They didn't accept all of those things. You had to have your high school diploma. Now I'm sure lots of places accept the GED as education. So it's a different story. That's a good point. A child who experiences will probably grow up and have to resort to handouts from the provincial governments and housing subsidies, and they will have to use the food bank. This is don't trust wine again. Do you want to explain that now? Are you talking about someone who doesn't graduate high school? If you don't have a high school diploma, does that mean you can't get a job, any job? Do you need a high school diploma from McDonald's and Tim Hortons and all those companies where you're like packing and shipping and someone who doesn't graduate high school because they experience triangulation? So what does that mean? The kids were the problem? Your parents were the problem? The teachers? What is my favorite sport? To play or to watch? I watch basketball. To play? I've played baseball, volleyball, hockey, soccer. No, I haven't played soccer unless I was in school. There's a reason I hate soccer. Do you want to guess what it is? Where do you go and play baseball now? If you can actually hit the ball far. In Malton. Which baseball diamond? There used to be baseball diamonds. Have you been to the park lately? At the school, Ridgewood? There's no baseball diamond anymore. I did go there. There's a track, right? When is the last time who went to Ridgewood? Where's there a baseball diamond? There's no baseball diamond in Lancaster, right? Wildwood used to have one. It's like at Allen House in the park there. Do you remember the baseball diamonds there? I used to go and walk around and say I win. I used to go there to smoke because you can't smoke on the property, right? So what are you going to do in a baseball diamond while you're smoking? I got lots of home runs. You asked. Chinguacousy probably has one. Probably. That was a long time ago when I was there. You have everything else in Chinguacousy Park. That's a big park. This is the same volunteer firefighter, right? Speaking of the smear campaign, let's go back to what Malton, just Malton. We can go to cause for shelter after. Bramalea even. What did you know about me? Well, let's compare. What other life coaches do you know? So what did you know about those life coaches? Why did you trust them and follow them? How many of you knew how old I was? How many of you knew I was born in Canada? Oh, all the years, wherever I met you. How many of you knew who my narcissist was? Much less what I did before. How did you know what I did before? Yeah, the point is, when I opened the business in 2019, what did you do? So I'm correcting now, right? If you're homeless, I told you how many times everything got stolen in Bramalea at the rental. Half the time I didn't have a phone that worked. I sat in Chinguzi Library to make calls to my worker. I couldn't use the phone unless it was plugged in to the outlet. Do you have any idea how loud you are inside Chinguzi Library when you have to make a phone call? That's a library. To call my worker, to try to get through, to figure out what was going on. It was a holiday. To complain about my landlord who was ripping me off when I couldn't get away. To find out why they canceled my Ontario works. When you rent a room, what do you expect from it? If you're a renter, sure. What do you expect when you rent a room? To live in anywhere. I expect it to be nice and safe. Okay, so where would you look for a room? Don't trust wine. If you were looking for a rental, where would you look for a room? I expect power and running water. Well, again, depends on the rental, right? I don't know how many rentals you look for. So what are the price ranges for rentals in Windsor, Ontario, or Ajax? Or Brampton? Today, what are the prices for rentals? I stopped looking, so I don't know anymore. For a room, a whole room to yourself, not shared, what's the standard price, the average price? Brampton, Malton, Mississauga, anywhere. Let's hear. A whole room to yourself, not shared. You can put shared if you have those prices, but a whole room if you just wanted a room to yourself. You live in Cawthra Shelter now? Now that you lost your job as a volunteer firefighter. Oh. So what do you do all day at Cawthra Shelter? Do the doors lock at 9:30? Well, you just said you live in Cawthra Shelter, right? So do the doors lock at 9:30 and you have to leave, or are they open for the day? Well, when I was there, if you walk up the street, there's an employment center, right, where you can go get job like resumes printed and use the computers. I don't know if everybody knew that there. Across from the Dollarama, the Dollar Tree, not Dollarama. Across from the Dollar Tree, the employment center. You've never went there? They got all kinds of computers and things you can print your resumes for free. Well, if you're living in Cawthra Shelter, right? The point is to get a rental or a job. Which one? So if you're looking for a rental, if you type in, what are you looking for? A house rental or a building to live in? The Diamonds is across from Scotiabank. You went too far. You don't think I know where I'm talking about? Where's the Tim Hortons there? Across from the Diamonds, the strip club. So where's Dollar Tree? Across the street. What's the buildings in there? What's the employment center there? It was open. I went in many times. Maybe it was closed when you were there. Maybe it was a bad COVID. This goes to show. Depends on the week, the month. You've been too sad to look for a job because you got fired. You got fired from your job as a volunteer firefighter. And you're in Cawthra Shelter, but you're too sad to look for a job. But you didn't answer what you do there all day. I have PTSD about working because I was fired. Oh, that's real good. Do you know what PTSD is? You have PTSD about working because you were fired. Why didn't you explain that to us? Your whole live stream again. Go for it. I'll just read what you write. Let's talk about Cawthra Shelter. Are there real people staying there right now? What was the count? 120 beds? You want me to check? Let me make sure. Provides emergency housing for single males and females over 25 years old and couples without children experiencing homelessness. It is designed with 37 units, which can accommodate up to 119 people, with an overflow capacity to assist the Wilkinson Road shelter and the Peel Family Shelter when needed. So 119 people. We went over that. 37 units, 4 in a unit. Does that make sense? Yeah, when I was there. $148 if there's 4 in each. If there's 37. It says it accommodates 119. Yes, I did. They had signs everywhere. And I said, please make it make sense. People are going to get confused and come after you. Services provided in emergency shelter programs: housing connections and advocacy, case management, referrals to community based resources, health, mental health, long term support, and other services, recovery support for substance use disorder, accompaniment, is that what that says? Follow up support, spiritual and religious care, computer access. And there's the Peel Street Helpline, Peel Street Outreach. Mobile team includes mental health support staff, substance use harm reduction staff, family transition outreach staff, and housing support worker. Provides food, personal supplies, housing, emergency shelter, mental health, and/or substance help. Well, right now it says Melody Watson is the director. It was Blessing, remember? So, central intake 905-450-1996. That's centralized shelter intake, right? Central intake, Peel. Do you remember there's Toronto Central Intake for the shelter system? You call them to get into the shelter system in Peel. Just going over it. Adult males and females experiencing homelessness, independent with care, no pets allowed to bring 2 bags of belongings only. Area served, Peel region. This information was last completely updated on October 15th, 2024. That is the Mississauga Halton Healthline.ca. Cothra Shelter, Cothra Road and Dundas Street East. 2500 Cothra Road. Salvation Army, Mississauga, Cothra Road, Cothra Shelter. Let's talk about how you end up homeless. Well, we went over earlier, right? How newcomers, they need their papers, right, before they can get employment. And can they stay in the shelter, or do they need to be on Ontario Works? Because I went over, you have to be what to apply for Ontario Works? Can anybody apply? Do you need to be what, a resident? What do you need to apply for Ontario Works if you're a newcomer? So where do they stay if they can't get into the shelter because they have to be on Ontario Works? What's your personal opinion on immigrants, Amy? How did everybody get to Canada? Isn't everybody an immigrant to Canada? Some of us, yes, were born here. But when did your parents, your grandparents, they were all born here? Where did they come from? So that proves what? Everybody came from somewhere else to Canada? We're all immigrants? Think about it. Please. What I went through? With who? That's too woke for you? Everyone's an immigrant to Canada? Then what are you arguing over? Multiculturalism and racism and discrimination and hate crime for if everybody's an immigrant? A good old Canadian boy. Where were your parents born? In Canada? I could ask your age, but then it would, get too personal. If your family is Italian, that means from Italy, right? They're immigrants from Italy if you're Italian. That's the way it works, right? So you're an immigrant from Italy. I'm waiting for Don't Trust Wine. I told you every comment you're going to explain to everybody in Malton. Amy, please don't call me Italian. They gross me out. It's like we get you. Like pasta. Give it a break already. Do you know how to make pasta? If you had flour and an egg, you had to make pasta to eat because that's all you had. I want to hear why you keep talking. Go ahead. What kind of pasta? Ravioli? Spaghetti? Let me hear pasta, all the different kinds. You buy the dried noodles. Well, I had a pasta maker. Do you know what pasta is? Like I just said, it's flour and an egg, right? Egg noodles? What do you think pasta is if you make it yourself? What do you think pizza dough is? Isn't that flour and water? We went over this. Pita bread, roti, naan bread. It's all just flour and water and salt, right? All of them? Bread, normal bread. How do you think it's made? Well, it's pretty sad. Don't you all eat Chinese food? You all live in Canada, right? So what are French fries? What do you consider that? Canadian food? American food? I like poutine. Well, that's French fries and gravy with cheese. So, okay, let's go to potato wedges. When did that become popular? Because you get sick of French fries? Why not? Well, who sells potato wedges? What do they sell it with pizza? What year do you think that came out? Potato wedges. If you had one potato, You cut it in half and then cut it into 6 pieces, 3 pieces each. There are your potato wedges. Try it the next time you have a potato. Just one potato. You can put whatever seasoning you want. What do you put on potato wedges? What does pizza taste like? Oregano? What's the seasoning on oregano? If you put salt, pepper, and oregano on the potato wedges. What if you put pepper? Then what's it going to taste like? What if you put gravy? What's it going to taste like? I'm always looking at the side because that's where all the comments are, right, and the writing is. That's why I'm always looking, because I'm reading it. Well, since we're off of smear campaign, I guess we're on to food. What if you're an actual victim and nobody taught you? Where did you learn? What did you eat? Anything, everything? You microwave things? In reality, you bought microwave meals? Well, that's what used to happen, right? When your parents buy the groceries, you eat what the groceries are, and then you realize what you like and what you don't like. And then when you eat like a frozen macaroni and cheese, you realize, I could do this myself. It's just pasta, like you said, and cheese, macaroni and cheese. When you realize how easy some things are, or because you have no choice. I did it because I had no choice, right? Do you remember that whole financial abuse? You have no money, so you only have what you get. It's the same thing. Like, what was that show called? I forgot. They would get a box. The chefs would get a box of mystery food, and they would have to come up with meals. Yeah, when the food banks, what was that, cloth for shelter? So what can you do with that box? It's the same thing. What did you get from the food bank? So how is it different? If you had to come up with food for you? Do you want to go over the rice again? You remember that one? Rice, potatoes, and flour? How could you ever be hungry if you had rice, potatoes, and flour? Don't Trust Wine says, I'm going to the food bank tomorrow because I got fired as a volunteer firefighter. Can you do me a favor? Don't Trust Wine? Can you write down everything you got from the food bank or take pictures of it and share that on Instagram under the comments or somewhere? Can you do that? No, I'm not joking. You can always email it to amysregalife@gmail.com. Yeah, so I can share it on the next one. Why would I be joking? Let's go over potatoes again. If you have a bag of potatoes, what can you make with it? We went over French fries, right? We went over potato wedges, mashed potatoes. What else can you make with it? If you have potatoes, baked potatoes, just put them in the microwave oven and bake them. That means baked potato fries, wedges, mashed potatoes, potato skins. See, you're in the wrong. I don't know if you saw the trend of cleaning. So somebody's gonna eat you for saying potato skins. You have to scrub them and wash them with soap and water and disinfect them and fry them in hot oil 3 times. Oh, I bet you. Just wait. It depends. Hash brown, hush puppies, kind of the same thing, right? What kind of hash browns do you get? The McDonald's one? It is. Serious, all serious. What kind of hash browns? Some of them are kind of like potato wedges, right? Have you ever gone to A&W? What do they give you there? It's kind of like if you made a potato patty, like if you grated the potatoes. That's just potatoes, right? So far, did you even need seasoning? Just what, salt maybe? For any? The A&W was inside Bramley City Center. That's why I went in there because the breakfast was like they used to have it cheap. It was, I think, the Canadian breakfast or something like that. So that's how I got bacon and sausage and eggs. And I used to take it, walk across to the park, and sit and enjoy it. I don't know if you've ever seen the video on financial abuse. That's the same park there, across from Bramley City Center, where I used to take it. The lady was very nice. My eggs never broke. You can't buy sunny side up eggs, take them all the way to the park to eat them, and not expect them to be broken, right? You laugh. I don't eat bacon because my friend is on the Muslim Council. Well, there's chicken bacon now and turkey bacon, so I don't really. I'm just reading your comments. What do you want me to do? Not answer? He wouldn't like that. Why wouldn't your friend like that? Yeah, I'm reading the new texts and comments. Speaking of smear campaign. So, have any of you ever been a victim of a smear campaign? How about if you stayed in cost for shelter? How about there? Were you ever a victim of a smear campaign in cost for shelter? There's that misinformation again because he is Muslim and pork is Harram. And even imitation pork is probably Haram. I don't really know. I don't know really. So what does halal mean? Do you know what that means when it says that on it? I told you, misinformation, right? If you don't know, why are you telling other people misinformation? That could lead to problems. Halal means permissible. So did you hear what you just said? If halal is permissible. No, I'm not laughing. It's like at Freshco. Did you ever see that on the meat there? Thank you. Why spell it? Because I don't know how to say it. How I know? I just told you. The same Freshco. When is the first time you saw that on meat? The same Malton we're in, right? How many grocery stores are there? Well, it's based on religion, right? You just said it. The Muslim religion? Why is that funny? If it means they prepare the food in a different way, they make sure there are certain standards when the food is prepared. Uh, like I said, you explained it to me, right? I only know what I know. I've never gone out and actually looked into it. Maybe. Have you ever bought chicken at Freshco? Did you ever actually look at what the brand was on it? And you buy chicken, you get Maple Leaf brand. So if that's the only brand you've ever had, you wouldn't know the difference, right? If it tasted different. So does it taste different to anybody else? If you've ever bought different kinds of chicken? Not frozen and fresh chicken. If you bought two different brands of fresh chicken legs or chicken wings or whatever it is, or chicken breast, did they taste different to you? How about if you buy it in a restaurant? Would you know the difference? If KFC all of a sudden said all the chicken is halal chicken, would you stop going there? What if they told you it was Maple Leaf brand? Would more of you go there? Why do you prefer Popeyes? I want to hear. Why do you prefer Popeyes to KFC? Because it's owned by a Canadian company now. And I just like the flavor. Okay. The point is, if KFC and Popeyes are fried chicken, we all know KFC has 11 herbs and spices, right? So if Popeyes has spice, and that's the only difference, why would you like one better than the other? Well, if I made 2 sets of fried chicken and put 2 sets of spices and said, which one do you like better? Don't you think you'd pick one? There must be one you like better, right? I don't know. Why do you prefer Tim Hortons or Starbucks or Coffee Time? I have a coffee pot. I can buy coffee at home. I have instant coffee at home. I only buy coffee when I need to. I don't know the last time I've seen a Coffee Time. Starbucks is expensive, so Tim Hortons is my choice because it's right here. What's in September? I don't know. What's in September? It said September's coming. That's the name of the live stream. I'm understanding it. What are you doing for the 24-year anniversary of 9/11, the worst tragedy of all time? Never forget. What shouldn't I forget? A group, was it, of terrorists attacked the Twin Towers in New York with planes, right? Why don't we think about this today? It's the equivalent to what if somebody attacked Pearson Airport? Well, let's think back to it. What do you think would cause people to do something like that? Well, you've all been seeing this smear campaign and comments you're leaving, right? The things you've said to me about brown people. So let's think about this. That was America. If you were doing the same kind of things to them, why are you laughing? If, do you know what was going on with American business? If they were taking advantage of them? If what? Like I said, what would make them do something like that? Since we were going over right here, right? All the things that happened. Really? What's the worst thing that happened here? What was COVID? Because what? Amy, please don't sympathize with terrorists. Do you understand half the comments you leave on my phone would qualify you as a terrorist? I told you, the only way to stop you is in person because apparently this isn't working. Do you understand that? Because I can't see you in person, you keep leaving all kinds of garbage. But if I were to talk to you face to face, do you think you'd still be doing this? Why don't you tell me what you think a terrorist is? Tell me the definition of terrorism. Terrorizing somebody, what you think it is. I leave nice comments only. I'm nothing like Osama bin Laden. I have nothing in common with Al Qaeda. No, I want you all to go and look them up and research them for the next live stream. Let me hear it. Tell me what Osama bin Laden was. Yeah, I want you to go look it up and tell me what he was. No, the next one's going to be about ignorance. Just like I said, right? Misinformation and the problems it caused. We what? Well, are you still talking about Muslim religion? Just Muslim religion? No, I'm not laughing. Let me hear about you again. You're the one who started with 9/11, right? What am I doing for the 24-year anniversary of 9/11? The worst tragedy of all time? They? They who? Malton? Why didn't you tell me what all the religions are in Malton? I'm not religious, right? You understand that. I'm not religious. So let me hear now. Tell me all the religions in Malton what you are. Malton is multicultural, so I can't name them all. There are too many religions to name. Okay, let's talk about back to school for a minute. Does religion have anything to do with school if you go to public school? Only if you go to Catholic school, right? And I'm not completely sure. Like I said, I can't say because I don't know what the rules are now. So does it have anything to do with you going to school? You hit a roadblock? Okay, well, how many of you in Malton go to Catholic school? And how many of you go to public school? And then We were talking about when you live in Canada, the public education system, right? When you enter the Canadian education system, what grade do you enter? That's kindergarten? Then all the way till what? Grade 9? High school? When you're done grade 9? That's your Canadian education, right? Everybody, every child has the same education. From kindergarten to what? Grade 12? That's your Canadian education. Every kid, standard, is supposed to have that education. Do you remember that one? They all know the same thing because they all got the same education. Then you go on to higher learning, right? Where you choose what you want to learn. Oh, I'm going to end the live stream for now. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you learned something and think about what we went over.